On IU NewsNet, the strongest hurricane in a century is moving right now through Florida, 1 week after Hurricane Helene devastated the coast. We'll check in with an IU instructor recovering from both hurricanes.
And 100 pro-Palestinian demonstrators gather for another vigil. But this one meant even more to some of them. We'll tell you why.
Students and faculty react to another big cut by IU. Why is a popular 30-year-old program for freshmen coming to a sudden end? IU NewsNet starts now.
I'm Grace Morocco.
And I'm Talia Goodman. One of the strongest hurricanes in the U.S. history barreled across Florida last night, making a direct hit just 1 week after Hurricane Helene did the same thing. Millions of people who evacuated will be going home to survey the damage. That includes IU sports media instructor Trisha Whitaker, who commutes between Tampa and Bloomington. She's seen enough hurricanes in the past 2 weeks to last a lifetime, but no one there has ever seen anything like Hurricane Milton. Like the rest of the country, IU sports media instructor Trisha Whitaker couldn't believe her eyes this week as she watched the weather.
Incredible hurricane. It has dropped 50 millibars in 10 hours. I apologize. This is just horrific.
Hurricane Milton took shape and took aim right toward Whitaker's home on the west coast of Florida. It was deja vu.
Not only is it going to be devastation from a Category 5, but it's going to be devastation on top of devastation. It's already devastated.
That's because it comes on the heels of Hurricane Helene just 1 week ago. Whitaker was working in Boston when the hurricane hit, and she came back to a flooded car and friends whose homes were destroyed. Whitaker has spent the week in cleanup mode, helping friends near her home in St. Pete.
One of the hardest things for one of my friends was she said, I had to go back and see all my son's toys and everything we worked for floating on the first floor. And she's like, I couldn't handle it at a certain point because she was like, it felt like everything I had just crumbled to the ground.
And then along comes Milton.
Helene was a wake-up call. This is literally catastrophic. And I can say without any dramatization whatsoever, if you choose to stay in one of those evacuation areas, you're going to die.
And so Whitaker left St. Pete and headed to safer ground. Whitaker says she and her friend have learned a lot about human nature in the last week.
You see so much good in humanity during times like this, but you also see some of the bad. People started stealing things from her backyard and her front yard and trying to break into her house and stealing the little she had left from her property.
Now they won't know until the weekend whether there's anything left to salvage.
And that's the hardest part, is just it's their memories, it's their life. And it's it's going to take them years, some of them, to rebuild.
Whitaker's Florida employer, the Tampa Bay Rays, set up Tropicana Field to be a 10,000-person base camp for first responders. But last night, the hurricane tore its roof off. No one was injured.
On Tuesday, the IU Media School announced plans to converge 3 student media groups under one multi-platform organization. This affects the Indiana Daily Student, WIUX, and IUS TV. The goal is to allow each to operate at a revenue-neutral level within 3 years. Under the plan, all 3 organizations maintain editorial and brand independence. The biggest change is eliminating the Indiana Daily Student's weekly print edition, though there will be special editions and publications. The IDS has battled financial struggles for years. Aside from that, the plan will not change day-to-day operations within the 3 media groups.
It definitely is a really confusing time, and I think everybody is unsure of what the future holds and how all of the different areas will interact with one another and what's going to happen next.
Media School Dean David Tolchinsky said, quote, successful media organizations are not afraid to reinvent themselves, and we have big dreams for student media at IU.
Monday marked 1 year since the October 7th Hamas attack on Israel that launched a war, one intensifying by the day. The Bloomington Jewish community came together for a memorial to the lives lost. About 700 to 800 members of the Jewish community here in Bloomington gathered behind the Alumni Association building to commemorate those who have died. They dealt with their emotions through speeches, prayers, and songs. Many of those who attended said Monday's events made them feel a sense of pride in their heritage despite the somber anniversary.
In so many terms, it was a wonderful evening, if that makes sense. You know, we were there to memorialize those we've lost, but it was a great sense of pride for us to be together as a community.
The one really positive thing through all this is like seeing your community come together and like seeing such a positive and like uplifting, like not trying to terrorize other people, but like uplifting each other and trying to find light in the situation.
The IU Jewish community came together again this past Wednesday through their Challah for Good October Bake Drive, which raised money for Israel's National Emergency Service.
And there were similar sentiments on the other side of campus this week. Students gathered Tuesday to hold a vigil for Palestinian lives that have been lost as well. They lit candles, read stories, and came together to mourn.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Right in front of Sample Gates, no people stand in solidarity.
Free, free Palestine! Free Palestine!
I continue to show up every day for my own family. I do have relatives in the West Bank right now.
Since October 7th of last year, thousands have protested the human cost of the conflict between Israel and Hamas. In just 1 year of war, so much has happened. Last April, police arrested 56 protesters at pro-Palestinian encampments on IU's campus. Now, there is a new, more restrictive expressive activity policy. But the fight on campus continues.
We have seen the most horrific things on the internet for the past year. Now is the time that we have to rely on each other and continue raising voices.
That's what members from the IU Divestment Coalition did on Tuesday. They held a vigil to remember all of the lives lost overseas. They lit candles and told stories of displaced families.
We're here today to honor our martyrs and to affirm our commitment to fight back.
The next day, a noon walkout as students and faculty staged a rally outside of Luddy. The group calls for IU to divest from Israel, the U.S. military, and for President Pamela Whitten to resign.
This university continues to support it. That's disgusting and despicable, and we should do everything we can to stop that.
A year later, emotions are just as high as the voices, which are raised in protest. But through it all, a spirit of hope and gratitude as they pray for an end to war. As we know, IU has placed new restrictions on expressive activities on campus and put a fence around Dunn Meadow indefinitely. But there were no disruptions at either of this week's vigils.
The election is now less than a month away, but early voting began this week here in Monroe County.
IU NewsNet's Ashton Hackman was out there right after the polls opened. Ashton?
Yeah, that's right. And the cold couldn't stop dozens of people from showing up well before the doors opened. A man who was first in line told me he was the first back in 2020, and the line this year was much longer. It took the first group of early voters about 10 minutes to get in and cast their ballot and leave. I'm told there were some printer issues to start the morning, but poll workers were able to get everything back online. County Election Supervisor Kylie Ferris says with already high turnout, voters need to bring more than just their ID when coming to vote.
Know that this is going to be a very large election, and we are excited because this could be a history-making election. And that is one thing that we are super excited about for this year, but we also just want to make sure that everybody comes with a peaceful mind and that we don't have any issues this election.
Early voting in Monroe County runs through November 4th. All early in-person voting will be held at the Election Operations Building on South Walnut Street. And people are voting with their voices on another county issue, where to build the Monroe County Jail. County commissioners heard from dozens of neighbors who live near Vernal Pike who say they don't want the jail in their backyard. Right now, commissioners are looking at two properties for the potential jail, the site off Vernal Pike and the North Park property on State Road 46. After Sunday's meeting, it looks like commissioners are leaning towards the North Park property. Board President Julie Thomas said the decision won't be made lightly.
Well, nobody would say, hey, build a jail in my backyard. Nobody would say that, but it has to go somewhere. Right now it is in a lot of people's backyards and nobody really talks about it.
County leaders are set to meet on October 22nd to discuss how to proceed with the jail project. Now, as of now, there is no word on when commissioners will sign off on one of the properties. Grace, Talia, back to you.
Yeah, thanks, Ashton. Construction is underway all across Bloomington.
And that includes a portion of the Beeline Trail on the south side of Bloomington, which will be closed for the next several weeks. The work includes repaving the trail and reconstructing the intersection on 1st Street. The trail runs between the Seminary Square Kroger and the Hopewell Neighborhood Redevelopment. The director of the Bloomington Parks and Recreation Department says the Beeline is an asset to the city and the work is necessary.
The Beeline is a critical connector to all of those things. And so we don't like to disrupt it, but sometimes construction is necessary to make things better, to make repairs, and we'll try to keep things open and accessible for people and get it reopened as soon as possible.
For now, trail users can take a detour along Morton Street, which includes access to Kroger.
When we come back, we'll have everything you need to know about Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Carl Bernstein's new role at IU.
Plus, do you have 20 seconds to help cure blood cancer? We'll tell you more about the life-changing mission of one IU organization. Stay with us.
Welcome back to IU NewsNet. Dissatisfaction about IU President Pamela Whitten is at an all-time high among several student and faculty groups.
And some of it came to a boil this week. IU NewsNet's Shelby Brown joins us in studio to explain. Shelby?
That's right, Talia and Grace. Protect IU held a press conference at Rosewell House to condemn the administration's decision to end the intensive freshman seminar and pause the diversity hiring initiative. Faculty, staff, and students warned that these actions could signal a broader effort to dismantle DEI programs similar to moves made at other universities. Speakers at the press conference expressed concern that these decisions will leave vulnerable student communities without crucial support systems. They also criticized the lack of transparency and consultation in the administration's decision-making process.
I was at the meeting, and so to make sure that I understood, I asked directly if she was closing IFS. She answered with one word: yes.
Protect IU pledged to continue fighting to defend diversity, academic freedom, and inclusive values at IU, urging the university community to stand together against these changes. More now about the Indiana University move to end a 30-year-old program designed to help freshmen adjust to college life. Faculty and students are trying to understand why it's ending. On Wednesday night, efforts underway to save one of IU's most beloved programs.
The program was smooth sailing, we were doing great, and then it was just kind of like pulled out from under us, and that's really upsetting.
Indiana University announced it will discontinue the intensive first-year seminars, also known as IFS, ending over 30 years of this transition to college initiative. IFS offered 3 credit courses to incoming freshmen, helping them connect with IU resources and prepare for college.
I still get emails from students that I taught 2-3 years ago in IFS saying that that their IFS classmates are like their family. They spend holidays together. They go on vacation together. They study together. They're like family to each other.
Vice Provost of Undergraduate Education, Vasi Torres, said the decision was made to reallocate resources and redesign the program for all students. A petition to save IFS has been started by former IFS student Avery Patterson. This petition already has over 1,500 signatures, with over 1,000 people signing in just the first 2 days. Faculty members expressed shock and disappointment, describing the news as unprofessional and devastating.
I've been here since 2001. A lot of the people that are supporting this program have been here a long time. And I'm not saying that that means we have it right, but I am saying we deserve a seat at the table.
Dennis and other professors hope for IFS to return, but doubt it will happen under the current administration.
As pressure mounts on the IU administration, students and faculty demand answers about the future of diversity and inclusion on campus. We'll keep you informed as the story develops. Now, back to you two at the desk.
Thanks, Shelby. I did IFS myself before my freshman year, and I really thought it was just such a great transition into college.
I've never done it. It sounds like it is a good transition, but I am curious where they plan on sending that money. Right. They said they're going to allocate it other places, so we'll be looking for that. Now let's pivot to some encouraging news. If you knew you could save the life of a complete stranger, would you do it? There's a program on the IU campus that allows you to do just that if you're the right match. IU NewsNet Claire Tips joins us in studio with more. Claire?
It starts with a swab. IU Gift of Life collected a record number of swabs, over 2,000, during this semester's swab week last month. It's a simple start to what can be a truly happy ending, saving the life of someone who needs a bone marrow transplant.
What's up, man? Hey. Got 20 seconds? Sure. Help us cure blood cancer?
Swab Week is all about the cure through stem cell donations and the National Bone Marrow Registry. And it all starts here.
You got 20 seconds? Help us cure blood cancer?
Not everyone does.
No?
But Gift of Life never gives up.
All right, have a good day.
The swab gives IU Gift of Life the information they need to help treat blood cancer.
That to me is really important. Like, how can I as a leader help get us out there and really educate everyone on campus about what Gift of Life is?
Gift of Life is always looking for potential new matches, and joining the registry is not a difficult task. With just 3 quick swabs of the inside of your cheek, you can make an impact and save a life.
A life like that of Caroline Price, a blood cancer survivor and now a Gift of Life volunteer.
I had a rare blood disease, and the best and really the only way they were going to be able to treat me and heal me completely was through a bone marrow transplant.
A bone marrow transplant made possible by the Gift of Life Registry. After being matched with an anonymous donor, Price is now cured, and she chooses to give back as a Gift of Life volunteer herself.
Having gotten a bone marrow transplant from an unrelated donor and hearing about an opportunity to potentially help another person in the same shoes that I was in just really grabbed my attention, and I knew that was something that I really wanted to do and become a part of.
You can find Price at tabling events like this one. She is searching for donors like Jocelyn Mollering, an IU sophomore who matched with an 11-month-old baby boy.
The fact that, out of the 1 in 1,200 chance, the fact that I got matched, and especially that I got matched with such a young patient, really just makes it even more special to me to be able to give that gift to him.
A gift that comes with a seemingly scary procedure. Soon, Mollering will have bone marrow pulled from her hip with a large hollow needle.
If I have a few days of back pain for this boy to have more to his life, that's totally fine with me.
If you're on the fence, do some more research, see maybe you could save someone's life one day, and it's not that scary.
Not scary, but life-changing, in more lives than one.
Swab Week has ended, but IU's Gift of Life continues to collect swabs twice a week at tables dispersed around campus. To join the registry, you can either stop by one of those tables or go to giftoflife.org. Now back to you.
Thanks, Claire. What an amazing story.
It absolutely is. A legendary journalist will be spending some of his time at IU for the next year. Carl Bernstein is the Poynter Institute journalist and resident at IU. Bernstein and his fellow Washington Post reporter Bob Woodward exposed the Watergate scandal. It led to the resignation of President Richard Nixon 50 years ago. Bernstein plans to visit campus throughout the year for various public discussions. The first of these, on journalism in a polarized election landscape, happened this week.
The idea of centrism as somehow an admirable goal for us. I don't think it's an admirable goal for us any more than leftism or rightism. Our job is the best obtainable version of the truth.
Bernstein will be back in November to discuss the 2024 election, its outcome, and its effects on journalism and the public.
When we come back, Indiana football just broke another record. And all of a sudden, IU football is getting national attention.
Plus, one Indiana wrestler had to battle much more than just his opponents on the mat. We'll tell you about his journey. Stay with us.
Welcome back. IU football, volleyball, soccer, and an inspiring story about a wrestler.
What's not to love? Our Emma Gladstone joins us with sports. Emma?
Thanks, you guys. 6-0, IU football is making history and making a name for themselves on a national level. The Hoosiers put on a show against Northwestern this past weekend. Quarterback Curtis Work threw for 380 yards and 3 touchdowns, guiding the offense to over 500 yards for the 3rd straight game. Elijah Surratt led the receiving corps with 7 catches for 135 yards, including several big-time grabs in the 4th quarter. After Northwestern cut the lead to 3 in the final quarter, the Hoosiers responded with back-to-back scoring drives to steal the win. With this victory, the Hoosiers have now started 6-0 for the first time since 1967.
We passed the test because it was a new kind of test on the road, and some real back and forth momentum and adversity, and we responded.
There is no doubt Indiana has gained national attention, and the country will be watching after this bye week when the Hoosiers take on Nebraska next weekend for homecoming. The winning streak continues for IU volleyball as well. The team won their first 2 conference matches at home over Michigan State and Ohio State. It was a hard-fought battle, but the Hoosiers came out on top, beating Ohio State 3-1. Junior Candela Alonso Corceles led the team with 18 kills. Senior Maddie Saris added 16 kills, while All-American setter Cam Hayworth notched 38 assists and 3 aces. She notched her 28th career double-double. The Hoosier service game was the key to take their victory, racking up 7 aces and limiting Ohio State to just 1 ace with 17 service errors. IU's home winning streak extends to 7 matches, and they remain undefeated at Wilkinson Hall. They'll face Minnesota tomorrow night on the road. Speaking of wins, the Indiana Hoosiers men's soccer team pulled off a thrilling comeback on Tuesday night, defeating Kentucky 3-2 at Bill Armstrong Stadium. After falling behind 2-0 on the first half, the Hoosiers found their spark in the final half. Senior forward Tommy Mahalik ignited the rally with 2 second-half goals. Freshman Michael Nessie then clinched the victory with a deflected shot in the 85th minute, marking his first collegiate game winner. Indiana's defense locked down, allowing just 1 shot on goal the last 45 minutes. Mahalik's performance makes him the team leader in goals with 8, while senior Sarver and sophomore Collins Ordoro were pivotal in setting up the attacks. And finally, Indiana women's soccer lost a tough match with a 1-0 loss to number 11 ranked Iowa on Sunday. The Hoosiers held their own through the first half, but a goal from Iowa in the 73rd minute proved to be the difference. IU had 7 shots, 2 on goal from Lauren Costello and Olivia Albert. Up next, Indiana hosts Purdue on Thursday at 7 p.m. in a big in-state rivalry match. Now we have a story about a fighter. Many wrestlers fight through adversity every time they walk into the mat, but one IU student has wrestled through much more than just a sport. IU NewsNet's Gabe Pontones has the story.
Here in the concrete underbelly of IU's Assembly Hall is Indiana wrestler Tyler Lillard. Lillard, now a sophomore, has had to fight through a lot more than just his opponents on his way to the college level.
So there were a couple incidents. Racial harassment kind of just drove me away from the school. I had people put me in blackface and they sent it out to the school. I had people call me a retarded N-word with a hard R.
In addition to the racial profiling, Lillard has epilepsy. He was born with a tumor on his right optic nerve, leading to seizures and problems with vision.
I had these major brain treatments because I have a brain tumor on my right optic nerve. Didn't want to wrestle, so my mom just let me not wrestle. My coach calls my mom like, hey, you need to get this kid in here. Like, I want him in here. And my mom's like, no, he doesn't even want to wrestle. He says, but your kid could die.
Lillard said that many inactive kids with epilepsy pass away. So his mother, Tina Lillard, a single mom with 5 college degrees, does whatever it takes to support her and her son.
my bird's eye view, support him. Whatever decisions he's made, I support him. If it's, you know, something as small as traveling to his match, right? That's a part of his dream.
Despite all of the adversity, Lillard went 22-9 last season individually and 4-1 in duels matches, with 8 of those wins coming against ranked opponents. He's pushed through adversity his entire career thus far, and he looks to continue that in the next season. Lillard is dedicating this next season to his late brother and looks to help IU earn its first championship banner since 1932.
You'll see Tyler Russell later this October at Wilkinson Hall or on Big Ten Plus. That's all for sports this week. Back to you at the desk.
And one more thing before we go. When you go to a typical animal shelter, you may see dogs, cats, and some birds.
But one Bloomington shelter hosts a more exotic clientele. The Pipsqueakery is a nonprofit animal sanctuary and rescue on the outskirts of Bloomington. It provides care for sick or injured animals who may never find a proper home. It treats primarily smaller animals such as squirrels, rabbits, and rodents, but in recent years they've upgraded their facilities to host goats, capybaras, and even beavers.
Where I said it is for all the little pipsqueaks and all the animals that don't fit in traditional shelter. We try very, very hard to say no extremely minimally, and that involves having a very tight connection with rescues from all over the country, honestly.
With the help of their staff and volunteers, the Pipsqueakery has saved more than 1,000 animals from potential illnesses. They are always looking for volunteers. And that's it for IU NewsNet. We have a behind-the-scenes studio production team in the control room and working in the studio for this broadcast. We thank them and we thank you for watching. I'm Grace Morocco.
And I'm Talia Goodman. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at IU NewsNet. Take care, and we'll see you next week.